everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest, you just saw him take top 6 at his very first Olympia. Many of us thought he could have been even a little higher than that. Definitely one of the stars of this past Olympia weekend. And I give him the vote for most improved bodybuilder of 2022. Please welcome from the United Kingdom, Samson Dauda. Hi, Samson.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for doing that. My first question is going to be out of left field. Did your parents know you were going to look like this? Because they named you Samson.
No, they didn't. Honestly, I mean, except they had some preordained vision in their upcoming, that would have been crazy because I don't know, most people know that my whole teens to my early 20s, to even past my mid 20s, I was always a skinny guy. I was always like very, ectomorph, freaking hard gainer, all that. And I struggled to put on mass. Like I genuinely struggled to put on mass most of my life. So it's only until I started bodybuilding that we sort of figured out, okay, this is how your body works.
Wow.
To actually start this process off. So even now, my dad still looks at me and just going, I don't know where you got that from, but the name matched, but we didn't want to expect that.
Yeah, wow. Imagine Samson, you stayed skinny your whole life. It would have been kind of ironic.
He's ironic,
That's great. So how quickly did I want to get into current history, but now you got me curious. How quickly did you grow if you were this skinny guy?
I mean, the thing is, this is why I always say to people, like every year I put on 10 pounds. Like I've always been putting on, since I started bodybuilding in 2014, and every single year I put on 10 pounds, and it hasn't slowed down any more since then, So it's always kind of like year by year. It's always like we sort of thought, okay, you're probably going to get bigger again. You're probably getting bigger again. And I remember I trained my coach I've trained with for years, and I went to him when I wanted to start bodybuilding, and he looked at me now and going, I think there's something wrong with genetics because I think you got a low myostatin. He goes, you never stop growing. Even when you get to this level, you still keep growing. And he goes, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And he was going about, if I can ever package it in genetics and sell it, I'll be a billionaire. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things where we're kind of sort of learning around how my body works now. And we're just getting into the point where we're actually figuring out, going, okay. Well, yeah, it's been very intriguing.
So you're probably myostatin deficient.
Yeah, I think that, especially, you get to the top pro level and you're almost like, okay, you might be able to put on a pound a year if you're weak. But this past year, I mean, we put on 16 pounds in stage weight.
Dude, this is crazy because this has been quite a season for you. I saw you at the 2 spring shows. I saw you at the Arnold where you took 4th behind Curry, Bonac, and Kuklo, and that was fair. I didn't think you should have been any higher.
Nah, I think that was fair. Yeah.
Same thing in Boston, 4th place. I think it was fair. I thought you were really good, but the way Giles was talking about you, I expected like the second coming of Ronnie.
Yeah.
But then I start seeing these pictures as the summer goes on, and you were growing and growing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's Instagram, maybe it's the angle. Maybe I've been disappointed by Instagram many times before.
Oh yeah. All the time.
Friday night, very late Friday night, I might add, in Las Vegas, when you guys finally come out there, I'm like, damn, this guy blew the F up. And you said it was 16 pounds of stage weight just from like mid-month.
Yeah, between Boston and now, and I didn't know that at the time. We only found out after the show that, okay, that's what you actually, the weight difference between Boston and here was. But it's one thing because it's like, as you said, Instagram, especially being a tall aesthetic guy, you can take a picture and put it up and people can sort of say, okay, he's big, but we never realize it. And I always say like, it's until you get on stage stand to someone else and you go, oh, whoa, we didn't see that coming. So it's almost like, it's always been our trump card thing where I was like, look, wait until you see it in person. Wait until in person. Even my coach, Milos, he's been prepping me throughout the whole prep, and he didn't understand it until we actually walked out on Monday, the day before the Olympia, and he looked at me going, you were right, it's a whole lot different ball game in person. I was like, yeah, we sort of know that. So it's always intriguing.
What did you weigh at the spring shows, roughly?
280.
280. And you were what'd you weigh at the Olympia?
Olympia was 296.
Wow. Because Giles said Milos didn't want to tell anyone what you weighed because they thought
he didn't know.
Well, either they wouldn't have believed him, they would say he's inflating the number, or like, oh, he's going to be so out of shape if he's 296.
Yeah. And we sort of had that fear. And even for me, I felt like I had that fear where I was like, okay, I didn't want to know. I wanted to really focus on dumbing down condition, not focus on the weight thing. Yeah. So the whole prep, we didn't know. And then the week before we flew out, I think it was the Monday before we flew out to Vegas, I got my missus to check it and take a video of it and say, okay, look, don't show me. When we get back from the Olympia and stuff, then let me know. So we were there, and she told Milos, about it. And Milos kind of like, are you kidding me? And we kind of said, and he was like, don't say a word, because he goes, if you say a word, you're not going to think you're out of shape or they won't believe you. So he's like, don't say a word. Just get on stage first and let's just show it.
That's insane. So 16 pounds of stage weight. You did that because when did you have to start your prep? Actually, you never got out of shape. So it's asking you when you started your prep is kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, because I know we officially dumbed it down. What was it? It was I think it was September, ending up towards the end of September time. We said, okay, right, we're gonna start, dumbing it down and really diving into actual prep. But most of the time, even when we were growing the off season, we try to maintain the idea of, okay, just because the off season doesn't mean you just blow out and just put on loads of fat and water and say, okay, you got bigger. We want to make sure that you still kept the abs, you still kept a mildly tight form in that. And that way we know that if you're growing and we're still holding on to that sort of look, you're not just putting on a lot of mess that you're going to have to get off anyway. And it just seemed to work out through the off season that when we got to the end and we were like 330 pounds, we were just like, we stood there. I mean, I remember it was very uncomfortable. It was really? extremely uncomfortable at 330 pounds. I was like, holy crap, because I got to 320 and I was saying, Milos, yeah, I don't know if I can handle this. And he was, oh, just keep going, let's just see what your body can do. And we got at 325, and even then I was thinking, I could barely move. This is like, it felt like I carried a lot of weight. Yeah. And he was like, okay, just, don't push it, just stick with what we got, keep the diet the same, keep everything the same, and just see what happens. And the body just kept on growing. Wow. By the time we got to 330, was the point where I was just like, yeah, okay, this is a new level. Because even then, I couldn't walk the streets. I walked out my house, and the stairs and the looks and everything I got was, I mean, you normally get big looks when you're a bodybuilder anyway, but this was almost the point of, it was extreme, that I was like, okay, I just, so it was definitely different.
So are you aware that you were probably the heaviest man on that Olympia stage? I mean, Rami, I don't think he claimed, I don't know, they kept going back and forth about his body weight, but I'm pretty confident Andrew was probably still over 290, but you were, if you were 296 depleted when you like woke up, and was that before carbing up and everything?
That was a Monday before we flew out.
Okay. So I think it's a very safe bet. Not that the body weight matters, but people like to know these stats. You were probably the heaviest guy on that stage and in great shape.
So, thanks, man. Yeah. Because I mean, the thing is, this is what we said, when we try, like, we know that as soon as you start sort of focusing on the body weight, people tend to not pay attention as much to the physique and just the numbers. And we was like, okay, you know what? Even for me, I knew that was one of the reasons I didn't want to know what I was weighing throughout the whole prep. I'm like, look, don't worry about it. Can we just focus on the look? Because we'll know when we're there. We don't need numbers to tell us that. So we kind of made sure the whole prep was mainly, okay, are you getting tired? Are you getting tighter? Are you getting harder? And focus purely on that and videos and everything else, and just not focus on, okay, you came down 3 pounds this week, you came down 2 pounds this week, because we know that those things can vary and they don't really matter as much if you can't see it anyway.
So I got to go back to those 330-pound pictures, because I didn't think you were photoshopping. I don't think you're that guy. But when I'm looking at the waist, and Giles said your waist was still only, it 34. Didn't get 34 inches at 330
inches waist. Yes, I still hold on to that, and this is something where it's like, we always kind of make sure that, okay, there's no point. We always say, like, look, there's no point in putting shitloads of weight on if it's just going to be a mess and you have to take it off anyway, because it just gives you more work to do. So when we were growing into it, I mean, I remember when I first started with Milos last year, and we had a break between December and the Arnold, and he sort of had a little tester with me in terms of the rebound. And he saw how quickly I picked up and how quickly I responded. And I remember when we finished that show, he was saying to me, man, next offseason, I think I can put 30 pounds on you. And I sort of thought, coaches always say that. They always say this. And you're like, yeah, it sounds good. And he goes, look, honestly, the way you respond to things, I think we can really push it. And I was like, yeah, well, you know what? We would do whatever you think. Yeah, and to sort of see that happen, and he sort of saw that not wasn't the way it was going up and I was climbing, but I wasn't losing shape with doing it either. So he kept on feeling safe to push the boundary each time even more. And every time I would come back with an update for him, he would look at me going, well, you can still take more, so keep going, Yeah. So it's a very crazy thing to see.
I mean, I got to give Andrew credit too, but you two are the only, I've been around even longer than Giles, and Giles has been around a long time. I've never seen that much mass with that type of aesthetics with the small waist. Ronnie had that mass. Ronnie never had a tiny waist.
Yeah.
It wasn't big or anything. At times it got thicker as he was coming in heavier, but I've never seen. This is like a whole new era that you're ushering in. You and who else? You, Andrew, who else would you even put in that category?
I think who's got the same mass, and I know Rafael is definitely coming up. He still needs more mass, but he's definitely coming. He still holds on to aesthetic. Blessing still holds on to his aesthetic, even though, you know, but you do have a generation of guys that they both aesthetic, but they having the mass to hold with mass monsters as well.
Right.
And sort of, you know, seeing that it's a freaky thing to see, because it's something that you think, okay, actually, you want to see where that leads. You want to see, okay, how far? Because I know one thing we've always said, like, the minute it seems like your waist is becoming out of control, is growing with it, then we've hit our boundary. That's our limit. There's no point in terms to push any more than that. So at that point, we cut it loose. I mean, for me personally, after 330 pounds, I'm like, you know, I don't want to get it bigger, because I'm like, that was for me. I felt like that was my upper echelon in that, you know. But yeah, you starting to see a lot of guys that are extremely massive, but they still look aesthetic with that mass, and it's something unique, you know.
Yeah, when you came out of the middle with the smoke behind you and you just saw the silhouette. That was the finals. But man, that was one of the freakiest things I've seen since like Flex Wheeler or Paul Dillette, as far as that silhouette, the roundness and the little waist. It didn't look real. And then you stepped out in the light. I go, that is a real person. That's not a hologram. Just one last thing about that offseason. You know, it's interesting that you say that you felt uncomfortable, because you would expect someone to say that only if they were carrying a lot of fat and water, and but you were very lean, and it just goes to show you that's still
muscle. I mean, the muscle weighs a lot. It's still, I mean, this is the thing, like, I was at home, I was breaking furniture. I was going out, we go out for a walk, and he's like 2 minutes into walk, you're already puffing out, because people think, even though you could be lean and you hold on a lot of muscle still carries weight, and you're still pounding with that, you know, and the food and everything else. So it does take a toll. And I remember, like, just how much, you know, towards the end of the off season, I was kind of at that point, I was like, okay, I've had enough of this now. Come on, can we start bringing it down? And it is a lot of weight to carry. Like, it genuinely feels that, because even it was one of those things where you felt that if you had slipped or tripped or fall, you know, it won't be oh, I just slipped. It will be I broke something. You'll be like, okay, things will break, you know. So it did feel like, it sort of felt that way. But, you know, at the same time, it never felt so put on point where it felt like, okay, now you just feel that fat obese, but it did feel uncomfortable in that manner of it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you the title of most improved for 2022. I was thinking it's a tie between you and Lunsford, but Lunsford hadn't competed since October of 2021. He had a much longer off season, and he put on what did he put on? It was about 20 pounds. Yeah, about roughly 20 pounds. You put on also about roughly 20 pounds, but you did it from April to when you had to start your prep in September. Just a handful of months. So you win. But here's what I want to know, because I haven't talked to anyone about this yet. Friday night, we all know the show actually was supposed to start at 7, but I think they said, crap, this is going to go long. They started it early.
Yeah.
And it still went so late. You didn't get on until, I believe, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, yeah.
So I want to know the timeline backstage. When did you guys have any idea when you were going on? Because everybody says they were flat. Were you afraid? Tell me what went on in those few hours.
Because honestly, I remember going backstage about that 7:30 time, and we kind of went backstage, and you sat there and you saw all the competitors, the bikini, all of them, they were still getting ready to go on stage. And you kind of looked at the running order and going, okay, I think we were after the wellness or something like that. And I was like, okay, from the running order, we're going to be here for a long time. And I remember the whole time we were kind of waiting back, saying, I'm texting Milos and texting my girl saying, look, and they're like, oh, have you got any news yet left? And people kept coming and go, okay, guys, probably another hour, probably another 40 minutes. So you sitting there going, okay, right, you got it. By this point, we've already had about 2 meals in for those great. But yeah, we're sitting there, you know, we might be having little rice cakes and stuff, but those are meals. So you're going to get a lot of guys, especially big guys at that rate. We're going to flatten off. You know, we're drying out as time goes on. We're flattening off. So you're going to have a lot of that. And that weight, it's not relaxing, I'm just going to lay here and just chill. Your mind, everything is playing up at that time. Your stress levels, everything is going up and down the whole time. So it can be very demanding and very taxing on you. So, and especially when you're not really sure about, okay, how long do you really have left? So if I fit in a meal now, would that be all of a sudden be, oh, you got to be on stage in 30 minutes? That is definitely what you need. You want that time gap. You want to know, okay, right, I've got about an hour. So if I can have a meal, then I know that I've got an hour to get through it. But it was a case of, you know, it was hit or miss. It was some guys ate, Some guys didn't. It was just a case of we just basically throwing up the dice and say, okay, hoping on the right time. Because even when it was time for us to go on, I remember it was pretty much late, and I was just like, I saw this, I need to go out and get some fresh air. And I was walking out, and I saw Dennis James, and he goes, "Oh, they just called out. You guys got 10 minutes." And I was like, "Oh crap!" And I ran back in. And 10 minutes. So a lot of guys probably were flattening off and were flat at that point because it's just one of those things, I mean, yeah, you can't sort of blame it, but at the same time, it's like when you have that many big guys in a show, you're gonna expect that you need to get them in and have a good time for them to actually know what time they're gonna be on stage.
Yeah. So we're all throwing around like solutions to this because I think the Olympic Committee, they're very open to ideas and they want to make the show better for everybody, the athletes, the fans. So some people say, well, why don't we let the men go on first Friday night?
Yeah.
And I think the big problem with that is a lot of people would leave right after that.
Yeah.
Which it looks bad to have a bunch of empty seats, but they already paid for their seats. It's not like they're losing any money.
Yeah. I mean,
but to you, would that take away the prestige? Like, you guys are the stars of that night. You should go on last. Or would you rather go on first so you don't have to worry about this happening again?
As an athlete, we would rather go on first. We'd rather be like, okay, right, you're going to be on stage at this exact time, and we'll be ready for this exact time. And I think you probably have a lot more guys hitting their peak spot on because of that exact time. But at the same time, in terms of the business fact of it, I understand you putting the best show to last. What I just say is like, but you do have to reduce the amount of classes you have before us. Classes that they do not require to be full and dry and hard. Put them in the expo in the later in the day. And then those classes like the bodybuilding and classics, the guys that that they're maintaining a very extreme look for a specific time, put them on stage and know that, okay, we've got 3 classes, 4 classes specifically, and it should run about this time. Because when you put so many bikini competitors, so many women's wellness, and so many of those classes in front of us, you're now putting us in a position where you're like, okay, we want to leave the best to last, but this can go on all day. And as much as, you hate to say, but as much as it is, most people, the reason why we think most people will leave, because they pay to see the men bodybuilding, they're made to see the big guys.
Right.
So the last thing you want to do is you wait all night to see the big guys and you're sitting there on your phone the whole time thinking, man, I got here at 7 o'clock and I'm still sitting here looking at this. And I'm thinking, come on, man, let's get it going. And I think you sort of put people in a position where they do feel like this is not what I paid to see, but I'm having to stick here because I'm forced to, so it's bad, but we know that this is just the reality of it.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this with Giles yesterday. We had a discussion that it's great that they have 11 different divisions now. There's literally something for everyone. The problem is when you have something for everyone, you're inevitably going to have a lot of people that only like 1 or 2, 3, 4 divisions of those, and everything else they could care less, but they still have to sit through everything. And it's like, I would never put down the women's divisions. They work very, very hard, but a lot of the people were getting so antsy Friday night, like, come on.
Yep.
Let's get to the guys. And, it just makes everyone feel bad. I know these people all work hard.
Yeah. And even in those divisions, I think, if you didn't have like 30, 60 of them, it wouldn't be so hard, but when you have that many numbers of them on the main nights where people are waiting, well, come on, we want to get to the class. People are probably more keen to watch those divisions if there weren't so many.
Right.
Because if you had the bikini and everything come on and you had 10 girls on stage, you pay attention for 10 girls. Okay, let's just see. But when you have 60 of them, you kind of like, even if it was a men's bodybuilding and it had 60 guys, you would probably just drift off after that. I mean, this is just a fact of it. You can't pay attention for that many people. Right. So I think sort of reducing the numbers when it's something that big at the finals where people are going to come in to want to pay attention and be like, oh, they have a great night. You almost have to reduce that number. You either judge half of them in the expo earlier in the day and bring the top 10 into the finals to judge at the stage, or something vice versa like that, so you can keep that excitement going throughout the whole show.
Yeah, you made a good point, because we had the Mr. Olympia, that was the biggest Olympia ever. 30 men, that's the most we've ever had on an Olympia stage. 70 men's physique, 59 classic, 60 bikini. So yeah, I mean, I guess those are the only two. That's one option, is to have like a runoff, like a semifinals. At the Olympics, you don't see every athlete on there if they've had qualify. Or, hear me out, this is a crazy idea and people are going to rip me apart. Not every show qualifies you for the Olympia if you win it. Just have a certain amount that these are the qualifier tier 1 or whatever. You win that, you go straight to the Olympia. If you win a tier 2, you get 20 points, 30 points, whatever. And maybe you have to win 2 of those shows to get enough points to go. It's still a point system. And then you have a bunch of lesser shows because you had 400 athletes that the judges. It was rough on everybody. I
mean, it's great. Obviously, you have more people qualify, you get more people in the shows, but then you have to then think about, okay, the shows, how are you going to run it to fit all these guys in? You're not add more days to the actual Olympia weekend, or you're going to have to find a way to narrow it down to, okay, having less people each day.
Yeah. So let's get back to the show. You were first call out, rightfully so. And, you know, they had you next to Rami. They had you next to everybody you wanted to be next to. This was your first Olympia. And a lot of people based on the progress pictures, we've had a good feeling you were going to be first call out anyway. Yeah. But there were so many people in this Olympia that were big names and so much talent that sometimes we'd be making our predictions and then be like, oh yeah, what about Samson? We'd already talked about like 10 guys. Hey, what about Samson? And you know, it could have easily been a situation of getting lost in the shuffle. The way you looked, you weren't going to get overlooked. But what was going through your head when you heard your name first call out, like Rami, Samson?
Man, honestly, you know, the thing is, you go up, the thing people don't know, like when you're backstage and you're at a big show, you know all the big names, you know all the big stars, and you see them face to face, it is so different. People always say, oh, I saw the clips, I saw the pictures. Trust me, when they're right there in front of you, it is so extremely different. It's so overwhelming. It's so, holy crap, he is big, you know. So you standing backstage and it's your first time being with that much names, that much numbers, and that much prestige of guys on that show. It breaks you. It breaks your confidence very quickly. Honestly, it does. And you're there backstage, you're pumping up and you're looking at these guys and thinking, holy crap, they're all freaking huge. They're insane. So when it then comes time for you to walk out, your confidence might have been here walking into the show, but I can tell you now, it goes down a little bit. You know, you're kind of thinking, oh, okay, I'm just gonna try to do my best at this point, especially when your first time. So we walk out, we do the walk on. Then even when I did the first the first walk on with Rami next to me, trust me, I didn't have a clue how I was looking next to him because you can't see yourself. Right. So I just know that, you know, they told me, look, Milos already told me, look, your number is next to him. Don't back down. Just get in, fight for your place. So I made sure that regardless of how I felt, I had to do that. And then when we then come back in and I remember me and Rami was the last guys to walk onto stage. All the guys were already lined up then. You walk onto that stage and you see that many guys, 30 guys are the best guys in the world, absolutely jacked to the balls, like completely insane. It's overwhelming. You look at it and go, holy crap, okay, this is the Olympia. I get it. I really get it now, you know. And you stand there, and honestly, I remember standing there thinking, you know what? Looking at this place, looking at this field, if I get second call out, I'm not gonna be mad. Honestly, I would go home with that. Yeah, because I see what I see, and I'm thinking, damn, these are some really, really extreme competitions. So when you then start hearing the call outs, and already your mindset is already at that phase where you're thinking, yeah, I get it. Don't worry, I'm not gonna be mad at it. I see. And then you hear your name. Oh man, you can imagine like you're already gonna be up here when you just hear your name first call out. But when you already see the level of competition you're at, and then they put your name in front of it, it's overwhelming. It's genuine. You have no words. It feels like you've just been given a bolt of electric shock. You feel like, oh my God. And you walk up and thinking, okay, this is crazy. And you're in that, you know, you're kind of in that lineup, you fight with the top best in the world, and you're fighting. And the whole time you're thinking, just don't slip. Just hold your own in this line. Don't give up. Don't step back. Don't go into the fanboy of, oh my God, I'm in Olympia. This is great. And you're just happy to be here mode. Right. Fight like you need to be. Fight like you belong here. So that first call out was me like literally saying, yeah, no, I belong here. I have to feel like every part of it that I belong here, you know. So when we kind of did that, and after that call out, you've noticed they said, okay, all right, all you guys are back in the line. At that point, I was so relieved because I'm thinking, because normally, you know, they always leave the one guy back out or 2 guys or 3 guys. Okay, the rest of you can go back, them to stay. And I was so relieved when they said all of us to go back. And I was like, holy, okay, this is definitely happening, you know. And we went back out, you know, back in the backstage area. And I remember that Denise came over. She was kind of like touching my tan. And she was doing it and she was saying, well done. I remember Brandon shaking my hand and going, congratulations, you know. Nick came up to me and going, Sam, you did it, you know. All these guys that were so happy for me. And I just, I had tears coming out my eyes because I'm thinking, I can't believe this, it's surreal. You dream of the moment that you could break into that line, but you hope you might be now, but you always think, well, it's your first Olympia. Come on. You talk about the biggest show, biggest lineup that they've ever had in God knows how many years.
Yeah.
Would it really be now? Would this really be it? So when you finally see that, okay, it's a possibility. Yeah, you're doing it. It's an emotional roller coaster, man. You're just there. You're just like, man, it brings tears to your eye because you've worked so hard and you've grind for weeks hoping for this, just hoping that you'll be good enough for this. And then you get that confirmation going, yeah, we think you're good enough for it. And it's just almost that validation of all that work wasn't for nothing. You genuinely are deserving of a place in there. So we kind of walked around to the other side and you're waiting for you go round and round. And then they call me out with a second call out. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not mad at that, but I'm gonna prove to you guys that I belong with those guys over there. So when they brought us out that second call out, you could tell I was a lot more aggressive, a lot more savage, a lot more hungry because I'm like, nah, you've given me a taste of that. I don't want anything else. I want that, So when we went through the second call out, they asked me, they asked, Hunter, Bonak, Andrew. I can't remember who the third guy, who the other guy was, but
it was probably the 7th through 10th was Hunter, Andrew, Bonak, Raphael, Ian, and Krizo.
So I think it was Raphael that was in there with her, and they said, "Okay, you guys back in line, and Samson stay." And then I was like, "Okay,
again,
like, I just slipped down that far already,
Come on.
And then they called, Hardy and everything. They brought about the first, and that for me was like, damn right. Okay, I know I belong here. There's no, well, he might have been lucky or, they might have overlooked it. They gave you a chance. They tested that chance and you proved your point that, no, this is where I belong. I belong with the top best in the world and I'm going to fight for it. And so for me, at that point, that was like the very confirmation of the moment where I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I believe without a doubt, I can do this, So that really was an eye-opener. It was opening for loads of people, but for me, it was the biggest eye-opener for me because I was thinking, you can dream, you could hope, you can work hard, but you don't really know until it actually happens.
Yeah.
And that moment was, that was your moment,
So I'm sure you've heard immediately after you took 6th place and Rami took 5th, we all respect and love Rami, but this was not his day. This was not his weekend. A lot of people really honestly and genuinely felt you should have been 5th place, which would have given you automatic qualification for next year's Olympia. You could have just gone right into an off, take a break, would have made things easier in a lot of aspects, a little bit more money too. I know you're not going to disrespect Rami, and I never would ask you to, but do you agree with the people? Do you see why? I honestly had you in 5th. I didn't see Rami beating you.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, but the thing is, when you're so happy about just being there and being top 6, you don't sit back and go, well, I'm happy with this, but I wish I could have. You just don't have that in you. You're so excited about it. And because what happens is it then gives you that motivation. Think, guess what? Where I'm coming for next year. Guess what I'm coming back with next year. If you think I'm crazy now, you think this is bad, the motivation you just give me, the confirmation, validation you just give me now has just lit a fire under me because next year I'm coming with a freaking whole lot of steam now, So, people be like, oh yeah, we had you 6th, we had you 5th, we had you 4th. I'm like, don't worry about it. Wait till next year. Because for me, this is already giving me that, we see you. We really see you. So when you go back in the gym now, you don't go back in the gym with, okay, I'm just trying to prove my value. I'm trying to prove my worth. Now you're like, I know what I'm worth, but guess what? I'm going to be worth a lot more when I go back in that gym. I know I'm going to be fired up a lot more. So you it's all about the way you see the situation, it's the eyes you take to look at it. You can either turn around and start, look at it a little bit negatively and go, well, maybe I should have been higher. They didn't put me higher. Or you can look at it and go, well, honestly, they just gave you the biggest validation you can ever ask for in your life. And the fact that people even think that you could have been higher is even more of a validation of where you're capable of being. So take that and bank on it and really work on that because this is what's going to be coming next.
Yeah, because if you made that much progress, if you could make half the amount of progress from now into next year's Olympia, because when I saw you at the spring shows, like I said, I was impressed, but I was like, maybe in a year or two, this guy's going to be really good. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. Exactly. I really was. You shocked the hell out of it. I think that the most two shocking physiques in the Mr. Olympia weekend of all, we already knew Bumstead looked great. were
Derek.
you and Derek, when you guys came out,
Right.
people were like, geez, because this was a
Yeah.
whole new version of you, whole new version of Derek. And, you know, we've seen some of these guys I've seen a million times and they look great, but they always look the same. They always look great, but I know I'm not going to see anything new, nothing
Yeah.
exciting. So you helped make the weekend a lot more exciting for a lot of fans.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
I'm going to switch gears and make you cry again. You made a very nice post. I've been married for 331 years. You made a very nice post about your wife, partner, girlfriend. I don't know. Yeah. Marlon. Oh, you froze on me. As soon as I get to the emotional question. Got a little freeze. Oh, there we go. You unfroze. Yeah. So you made a very nice post, you know, thanking her for all her support and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Had you prepared for shows as a single man with nothing really like that level of support versus this? And what's the difference having someone here, because a lot of these guys go home to an empty house or an empty apartment, stare at the walls. So how important is it?
I started this journey, like people don't know, like when we started this journey, I wasn't into bodybuilding at all. I didn't have a clue about bodybuilding. I was into playing rugby, you know. And I met my partner in the gym because people in the rugby were saying, you know, you need to put some meat on you because you don't have enough mass. And I went to the gym for that. And I met my partner in the gym. And she was the one that said to me, you know, you got a good physique. You ever thought about bodybuilding? And it was almost like a passing statement. And he carried on. I was like, yeah, I'm not really into that. You know, I'm a rugby guy, you know, I'm a tough guy. You know, I play hardcore sports. And then we kind of carried on training and she kept on mentioning it. And then it became weird because when the rugby changing rooms, you strip off and go in the showers. And when the rugby players turn around and go, dude, you ever thought about like bodybuilding? You all of a sudden like, hold on, what? Okay. So there may be something to it, you know. And so she got me into bodybuilding.
Wow.
You know,
who knew?
So she got me in bodybuilding. She prepped me all the way through to literally what 2020, the beginning of 2021, where I then started with John Meadows. She's always been my prep. She's always been my coach, has been there. So she knows everything about me. So even now, like people don't understand, like even now, that's what Meadows always talks so highly about her, because even now when we do our check-ins and stuff like that, it's not just me and Milo sitting there saying, okay, you need to do this week. It's three of us sitting there going, what do you think? And he'll be asking, we all speak about it like a team and say, okay, I don't think what we did last week worked better as this week. And it's always a team conversation. Now, even when we finished our show earlier this year in Boston, we heard the feedback about, okay, bring your back up, bring this up, you know, get dry, get hard. We all sat down after the Boston show and had a meeting, like all three of us, and said, okay, right, what did we do wrong and what could we have done better? And we all discuss it like that. And people don't understand that she's the missing piece, the biggest missing piece in this whole idea of how you progress this past seven months, because all my meals, everything, she knows and understands it fully. And, you know, that's why I always got to give her a lot of credit, because people don't understand the amount she pays attention to bodybuilding and how much she could dissect the physiques. Like there's no bodybuilder that's ever stepped on the Olympia she doesn't know of.
Wow.
And I'm not talking about just names. I'm talking about flaws, weaknesses, strengths, everything. She breaks down everybody. So when they discuss her Milos, they just click. They're like, yep, okay. Yeah, he's good at his side pose, so we don't need him hit the pose. Like, we need to switch up. This is the pose that suits him better against this guy. When he goes to this guy, he needs to switch. So we analyze and break up everything, you know. So she could at least tell you, okay, what year I was my best, what year I sucked, what year I could have been better. You know, so when you have somebody like that, that is not only just a coach, your partner, your friend, your mentor, everybody that follows the sport so closely, they live with you, you know. It can't help but bring you at your best. You can't get away from that. It's almost like, because I would say, like, in the prep, you know, guys, oh, do you cheat in prep? I was like, yeah, I don't have the luxury of that, because there's no single food in this house when I'm prepping that I can eat that I'm not supposed to. Like, she makes sure there's nothing in the house. So she's on top of it. So even when we do a check-in at the end of the week, Camilla's go, okay, hey, Sam, how you feeling? I'm going, yeah, I'm feeling good. You know, it's been a good week, whatever. He was, okay, cool. And he goes, so I go, Mel, how is he feeling? How's he doing? And she'll tell him, yeah, he was very moody this week. Yeah, he looked better on Tuesday. He looked, you know, but he's always been like that trifecta in terms of a team. So even so, it's almost that idea of when I said, look, she plays a massive role, because honestly, people might not understand, but your other half, your wife, your partner, your girlfriend, they take the brunt of prep. They genuinely take the brunt of the prep. And they don't, you know, you might see the nice part of post-show when we're hugging and say, oh, we love our other half. but they don't understand what it takes to get to that point. How much aggro, how much of our mood swings, how much of our temper, how much of our angriness, our sadness, they have to cater for before we get to that, you know. So when we then get to that point, we say, man, you know what? She's been the biggest influence in this sport to me. It's not a passing statement of, oh, you know, it just sounds nice because he's trying to give her hell. He's, you know, physically, mentally, every part of it, she's genuinely has been the biggest influence to me in this sport. And I honestly don't think for one day I'll be able to carry on this sport if she wasn't around.
Yeah. So I have to ask, where did she get all this experience and knowledge? Because this is crazy.
Because she's always been into the sport and everything else, but she obviously had a health and nutrition fitness, new health and nutrition way before I even met her. And since then, she reads a lot. She studies a lot. So, you know, when you guys had your show here in Muscular, and she watched all of them. Dave Colombo had his one, she watched all of them. All those things, she studied with time and sort of learned through the sport, like how we have. And she's learned the idea of, okay, what conditioning to like, what, you know, everything you had to know to be at this level. She's learned that, and she's kind of grown with me through the whole thing and see my physique change year to year. So she can always look at me and go, okay, we know when you're at your best. I know when you're at your worst. I know when you're literally, okay, you are absolutely full. I know when you're absolutely flat. I know every single part when you're actually as hard as you've ever been. So those things, because she's seen the process, she's seen what we do to get each look. She's seen it. She's been there, witnessing it. So she knows to say, okay, right, I still think you were better last show. I still think you were better last week. I still think this is, you know, she can always give that feedback for it. And where she's just been part of it and learned along the way, she just picked up the experience like, you know, most people wouldn't, but she just picked up the experience because she's been in it, you know.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, most girlfriends and wives, they just look at their boyfriend or husband like, you look great. And that's it, you know. Not a lot.
It's always the other way around, because it's always the case where she look at me. Even now, where we're talking about, okay, we got to do the Arnold, and she's like, okay, you know, you were flat on the Friday night when you did the show. That wasn't the best I've ever seen you. You look better in the morning. And Arnold, we got to be more conditioned. We got to be harder. She's already breaking down every aspect of it way before I'm still in the cloud 9 phase of, oh, this is great. I'm top 6. And she's already kind of in the point where she's like, yeah, you look better. And you look better a few days before. You look better at this point. We need to get you this. We need to get that. So it's definitely that teamwork of, yeah, this is genuinely teamwork. So it works that way, you know.
You just let the cat out of the bag, Samson. You mentioned your next show. Arnold Classic, it's coming right up. You know, a lot of us thought we'd have to wait a long time. Yeah, you just said Arnold, so now people know.
Yeah.
It's coming up so soon. You know, did you have, what was going through your head? Maybe I should skip that and do something later in the year, because that's coming right up. What made you decide to do it with such a quick turnaround from the Olympia?
I mean, the thing is, before the Olympia, we were already planning on doing Arnold. I mean, I did it last year. I absolutely loved the show. It was awesome, you know. So when I think we were about 6 weeks out from the Olympia, I already kind of put in my application going, look, I want to do the Arnold. I know I think it's about 10 weeks different between that and the Olympia.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, look, we can pretty much have the same sort of year we had this year. You know, you do the Arnold, you have a long break in between through the summer, and then you start prepping. Even though the Olympia is a lot earlier this year, I think it's about a month earlier this year, it still gives you a good break in between. And, you know, this formula worked out for us this year. So it'd be nice to repeat that same formula where you can then do the Arnold, have a break, and then go into the off season, and then prep for the Olympia towards the end of the year. Yeah. So ideally, especially the position we are in now, it just confirmed that a lot better, because we're the 6th guy and we still have to qualify for next year. So it's almost like, okay, you can go in the Arnold favorite to win the Arnold. If you get it, great. That's your year done. You can now focus on Olympia. If you don't, then you're gonna have to do a show later in the year before the Olympia. So, but either way, you want to have that break in the middle where it not just give you time for you to recover and give your body a rest, but you can then actually improve going forward. So it was something we all thought about way, way before, and thought, okay, right, regardless of what happened at Olympia, this was always going to be the plan.
Yeah, because I mean, you've only been beaten now. There's not many people ahead of you. There's only I don't, and I mean, Body's not going to do the Arnold. There's no way. Derek's not going to do the Arnold. I don't know about Brandon. Brandon might. Nick, I don't know. Nick might. Rami, no, Rami's not going to do the Arnold. I can't see him doing that. So, yeah, man, you're definitely a favorite to win that show, and that would be great. You could take you can follow that plan.
Yeah.
Just cruise into
Just
Olympia, bigger and better, and
yeah.
sky's the limit. You know, I
No,
hate using that word future Mr. Olympia. Sometimes it's like a curse, but
yeah, I know. But at the same time, we know we see what we're able to do in the time we have it. And it's like we've seen year by year how much, you know, I can put my head down in the off season, because I know, you know, if you guys might not take off season seriously, they think that how the off season is, oh, just mean you just rest. For us, I always say like off season for me is the same as prep. All it means is just more food. Nothing changes. Training is still just as hard. The focus is still just as intense. That everything is still just you just have a lot more food and you're not starving. So that's why we were able to kind of improve year by year and keep that improvement going. So for me, it's like, okay, I want to be better than what I am now by next year's Olympia. And I don't want to be a case of, well, he's a little bit better, or I could just see some change. Like you said, a few guys that you could sort of predict that you see change, but it's not going to be differ much from what you've seen in the past.
right.
I want to be just as different from now than I was last year. So I want to have that same amount of change where you look and go, whoa, okay, he's transforming again. And I know for a fact that we can do that. And because of that, is that hunger now is so evident and so right there in the forefront of my mind. I want to go to the gym and go like an animal and be like, okay, I know for a fact if I push myself even more, I will be able to get that. So it just kind of puts us in that playing field where it's like, okay, qualify early so you have that time to be able to do it, you know.
Yeah, you just confirmed something I say to people all the time. Contests are won in the off season.
Oh yeah,
that's when you mean, because there's so many guys, not so much at your level, but at the regional, national level, I've known so many people that they do slack off in the off season. They turn on the switch when it's prep time. Like, it's too late now. They're like, oh, you're not going to bring up a back or legs or something in 16 weeks when you're prepping. You should have done that for the 20 weeks you had before that.
Yep, and that's it. You have to know the importance of actually having an off season. And people always assume off season has to be a year or 2 years. I'm like, no. The minute I'm not prepping and not giving my body a complete break, I'm in off season. I'm trying to improve everything. You know, you take the feedback from whatever you've got from the judges, whatever needs improving. If it's your back, your legs, your shoulder, it's like, okay, guess what? That's what we got to improve in this few months that we have. So it's the same thing always. It's like, okay, we get a feedback from this show. What do we need more of? What can we be better at? And it's like, okay, there we go. Our drawing board is set. Our homework has been given. Let's go to work, you know?
Yeah, well, man, you put in the work and it definitely showed and it paid off. I mean, you had this is like a great story. You're 2022. So if 2023 can be anything like your 2022 was, good Lord, I don't know. Great thing.
And I think that's what sort of fires me up, because it's almost like you kind of see, okay, if we can make this progress now in this time we have, what would you be another year of it? What can possibly be the look that you would have then? And that curiosity to even see that is enough motivation enough to think, okay, what would you be if you look back this look to a year from now? Can you stand up and go, wow, the difference? Can you make that happen again? And it's so tempting. I'm so hungry to actually be able to say, okay, let's do it. Let's find out. You know,
I'm sure there's a lot of people think, well, he's maxed out now. That's it. He can't. He's almost 300 pounds. I mean, how much? He can't get any bigger than that. So show us, Samson. Show us.
I thought that when I was 280, and Milos proved me wrong. So I'm like, yeah, well, keep going. I keep proving me wrong.
Yeah, man. Well, very happy for you, Samson. You're an interesting guy to watch. Like I said, I respect the hell out of everybody, but these people that look the same year after year, it's not that exciting. We do like to see people improve and get better and move up the ranks. It's just more dramatic, you know, than somebody who's kind of like here for years and years and years. So keep doing what you're doing. You got a great team with Milos and Marlon.
Marenka, yeah.
Oh, Marenka. See, I can't get anything right. But so appreciate you taking the time. And now I guess we don't have to wait that long. We're going to see you on stage in 10 weeks, Columbus, Ohio. Awesome,
I'm excited. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I can't wait. So follow you on Instagram. Is it Samson_Dauda?
Yes, it is.
Okay. No IFBB Pro in there? I don't think so.
No, it's just Samson_Dauda. Simple and plain.
I think we know you're an IFBB Pro. So Samson_Dauda. Yeah. And congratulations on 2022. Really looking forward to what you got in store for us 2023, Samson.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Guys, please subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up like thing, share the video, leave some comments under there. We'll get to them all. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for watching Ronline Report with this man, the incredible Samson Dauda. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.